Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek.
This is Screenplay Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and Derek leaves us in suspense with his intro. And I'm Derek.
Thought you froze for a second.
I thought for sure you were going to say something else.
Well, I was going to use my alias, but I don't want everybody to know what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't it Raul?
I think we know all of your aliases.
It is Raul, yeah. Now everybody knows it, so...
I don't think that was a shocker. Anybody that listens knows about the Raul.
How are you guys? Anybody said that before?
Anybody that doesn't care. How are you guys doing this lovely evening?
Doing good. Had some leftover Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, we went to what's that place called? I don't know, it's an
Taco
Italian
Bell?
street food. No. It's a classy Italian street food place, and it's amazing.
Nice.
Although I got the wrong noodles, and it ruined my dinner. That's all right.
I ate also Thanksgiving leftovers because we had 2 Thanksgivings. One with my family, one with the wives. It was my son's first Thanksgiving, so that was exciting. And then today we put up and decorated our Christmas tree.
Nice.
So that was fun as well.
Our Christmas tree has literally been up for like 3 or 4 weeks. So.
Nice. So we were putting up this Christmas tree, right? I was putting it up. And I open up the box that has, the big container that has the Christmas tree in it. And there's 2 Christmas trees in there. I don't know which Christmas tree is which. And they're similar enough that they fit together. But they fit together not quite right. So I built the first Christmas tree, and this fucker's like wobbling. I was like, something doesn't seem right about this Christmas tree. So I had to Frankenstein and mix and match them until I figured out which one was which. By that point, I had built 2 Christmas trees, and I was like, this one's going into the dining room because I built it. So it's going into the dining room, and this one will be in the living room. That's what we'll do.
Nice.
So we have 2 Christmas trees out now.
God, I wish I had that much space.
They were just different enough. Like, they're just similar enough that, like, they were snapping together. And then I got the top on that one, and I was like, it looks kind of wonky. And Sarah's like, yeah, it's really wobbly. And it's going... Something doesn't seem right with this tree.
Oh my God. If I were you, I would label those things before you take them back apart. I was thinking about putting one up here. What do you guys think? Maybe like over here or something?
Decorate it with insides, like, like intestines.
Spooky
Guts
stuff.
And liver.
Yeah.
Well, my tree downstairs is like very like, what do I say? I don't know. It's like a white, it's just kind of plain. So I kind of want to do like a fun one up here, like a traditional vintage looking kind of look.
Yeah.
Because I have a ton of colored ornaments, but I don't really use them downstairs.
Well,
I don't know.
You can use them up here.
We'll see. Stay tuned next week. See if I put one up.
There might be one. There might not be. We'll see. So, guys, before we get into tonight's movie, we have some serious horror news to discuss.
Oh, man.
A lot of shit kind of went down last week. I don't know if you guys were privy to any of this, so we're going to talk about it. But first, let's talk about this, Lydia. This is good news for you. We are getting, slowly but surely, some stills and stuff leaking out of Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. And they're just regular stills, nothing too exciting. But Robert Eggers, talking about the film, says that Bill Skarsgård transforms in Nosferatu. He said that his performance, he doesn't believe it's going to get proper awards recognition, which it should, he said. but he said he's transformed. I'm fearful that he might not get the credit he deserves because he's not there. He felt like honoring who came before him. It's all very subtle.
So
Nice.
cryptic.
Now, we know what Bill Skarsgård can do in a role like this. We saw him transform into Pennywise the Clown. Does that make you guys more excited to see this take on Nosferatu?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Roger that. Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, I mean, it's Robert Eggers doing Nosferatu. This is probably going to be Eggers' most mainstream film. But it's also a remake of a 100-year-old movie, so it's still Robert Eggers style, you know. But I mean, the guy does great work, so I'm excited to see it as well.
I'm really I'm happy for old Bill because I thought after he played Pennywise that like he just wouldn't get another role where it would fit him really well. So it sounds like that has happened, and I'm very excited for him.
I mean, he works constantly.
afraid.
We saw him play against type in Barbarian, and he was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did. It wasn't like I guess he was a main character in that, but yeah, I don't know. I felt like him being Pennywise because it's so weird, like the role that he played, and especially how he played it. It's easy for I think people to get either a typecast or just like I'm not going to do that guy because he
makes
reminds me too
weird
much of
stuff.
Pennywise.
Yeah. Speaking of
Good
weird
for him.
stuff, guys, Beetlejuice 2 has finished filming. So we know that I don't know if we have a release date yet, but it was definitely pushed back because of the strike. And now they started filming once the strike ended and have now wrapped. So this movie is on the way, guys. I mean, crazy, right? It's going to be released September 6th, 2024. So this time next year, or less than a year from now, we're going to have a new Beetlejuice movie. How do you guys feel about this?
That's wild. That's so crazy to think about. I'm excited.
I'm excited
Yeah,
too.
me too. I mean, it's Tim Burton back. It's Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong?
Maybe don't ask that question.
Hey, I asked the same thing with The Flash. What could possibly go wrong? And then I saw the CGI and I was like, oh, that's what could go wrong.
Yep.
The movie itself's fine. I like the movie.
I did too.
Did not like the CGI.
No.
It's no bueno, right, Derek?
Faux show.
This is really cool.
Sorry.
So there is a Cape Fear TV series coming from Nick Ancoska, Steven Spielberg, and Marty Scorsese.
What?
Yeah, so let me read that again. There's a Cape Fear TV series coming from Nick Ancosta, Steven Spielberg, and Martin Scorsese.
What?
That sounds weird.
That sounds wild.
It does sound
Sounds
wild.
amazing. So here's what we got so far. The series is described as a tense contemporary thriller that examines America's obsession with true crime in the 21st century. In it, a storm is coming for a pair of married attorneys when an infamous killer from their past gets released after years in prison. Deadline also shares, this is from Deadline News, Deadline shares that Encosta has reportedly been obsessed with both Cape Fear movies since childhood and approached Universal about adapting the property, where he has been based for the last 7 years. And it looks like has a bidding war currently for it could be either Peacock, Apple TV, Netflix, Hulu, it's HBO. All of these are like in the hunt to, produce this show with this pedigree, which of course they are. Right?
Oh my gosh,
Yep.
That's gonna be big.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. That's going to be awesome. I'm excited for that.
And we just did that one not too long ago, which is really cool.
We did the Scorsese one, and the Spielberg of that is he produced the Scorsese one, and was going to direct it before he did Schindler's List instead, which was the right career move. Obviously, Schindler's List is a masterpiece and won all the Oscars that year. He won Best Director finally. But man, Spielberg directed Cape Fear would have been amazing to see as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, we're going to get into this bit. We're going to get into the weeds here, guys.
Here we go.
So, there's a lot of shit going on with Scream 7.
I've seen
a lot
of
of shit going on with Scream 7. So, it was dropped in, I think it was the Variety magazine, like the print version. It was just casually dropped that Melissa Barrera, the star of Scream 5 and Scream 6, was dropped from the project due to comments she made regarding the situation in the Middle East, which we're not going to weigh into. That's not what we do here. But she just stated an opinion. So she was dropped. Then it was in a mad scramble to see, is this true? Is this not true? Is this true? Spyglass, the company that owns the rights to Scream currently, said that it is true because they take a stand against any sort of anti-Semitism and hate speech. Now, the things that she said don't qualify as either of those, if you ask me. She just comments on the situation. She had a difference of opinion. But this whole thing backfired spectacularly for Spyglass. They literally thought that the pitchforks would come out for Melissa Barrera. They were getting ahead of it. So they were probably thinking somebody didn't like what she said about the Palestine-Israel war in the Gaza region. They thought the internet and everybody was going to pitchfork her. Instead, everybody rallied around her because they're like, she's exercising her free speech.
Yep.
You fired her for exercising her free speech. So then, immediately following this, news comes out that Jenna Ortega, the other star of Scream and one of the biggest stars on the planet, has dropped out of Scream. Now, she says, or it's been said that she had been dropped out for a while due to scheduling conflicts with Wednesday. Which, think about this. If she really wanted to do it, they would have pushed either schedule. A.
Yeah.
B, she would probably pick the major motion picture that has made hundreds of millions of dollars over her Netflix show if she really wanted to be there, in my opinion. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So she dropped out. Supposedly before the Barrera situation happened. Now Scream 7, who had a director lined up, Christopher Langdon, who did the Happy Birthday to You movies and some other stuff, Freaky. He is the director. He released a statement immediately after saying, here's my statement, I'm heartbroken. It wasn't my decision, don't yell at me. And then deleted the tweet immediately. So nobody's heard from him since. The script that they had is completely thrown out because now it doesn't look like any of the characters from the last two movies are going to be returning. They already burned their bridge with Neve Campbell, who they were trying to lure back for this one in a joint storyline. And I don't think she's probably going to join now, right? She's probably not going to say, yeah, this seems like a good place for me to get involved.
Yeah,
Right.
No kidding. You know, this would be I mean, if you are her, this is a great opportunity to get what you're worth.
Well,
But,
absolutely. Yeah. But is it worth your reputation?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
At this
Depends
point.
on how many dollars. But no, I get what you're saying. I'm just looking from the business side of it, and I think that was one of the reasons why they kind of moved on was she wanted her cut of the pie, and they didn't want to pay her. I'm trying to recall the conversation that we had like a year ago about this, but
yes.
Yeah.
That was it. They didn't want to pay her.
Now they might want to.
Now they're going to probably try to back up a Brinks truck to it, but it might be too little too late at this point.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like Scream 7 is going to happen. The latest news we have on it, on the current plans, are this. There was a planned sequel that was collapsing in real time, apparently. So James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick will now have to work from a fresh draft to present to the filmmakers. They might use some set pieces and stuff, but they're reporting that Nev Campbell and Patrick Dempsey were supposed to be in the original treatment, and now are potentially interested in Scream 7 originally. Who knows what's going to happen now? But it's crazy because the original concept they had was something like a killer was going to go after Sydney, Patrick Dempsey, and her family, and go after the Carpenter sisters in the Core 4, and eventually their storylines would converge, where they'd have to fight off the separate killers. That was supposedly the plot, which would have been probably pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we're not getting that now. So what are your thoughts on this whole Scream situation?
I don't even know what to think about it. I mean, I haven't seen the last two movies, so I can't really be sympathetic of oh, these characters have to be here, because I don't know what those characters have gone through or anything like that. So, but it sounds like a big mess to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is probably why you stay out of politics if you are.
Well,
not from the
yes.
actress's perspective. I'm thinking from the people who made that decision and just tried to get ahead of the cart, so to speak. Like that, they dug their own grave, so they kind of deserve what they get out of it.
Yeah, like whoever's call it was to be like, let's fire her right now, immediately, without talking to anybody.
Yeah, and let's not have a conversation about it. Let's not, whatever it is. It's just, hey, this is. And they didn't even announce it. It was in the print version of Variety, just in a blurb. And they're kind of hoping probably to sneak by it through the holidays, and it blew up, and it backfired horribly. Melissa Barrera gained something like over 100,000 followers on her Instagram immediately following this. So it just blew up in their faces horribly. So guys, that wraps up this edition of the Horror News. A weird, wild horror news that it was. We haven't had to talk about a subject that thick for a while. Usually I say, Robert Englund's making a new movie, it's going to be good. Child's Play 27 has been greenlit. What do you guys think? And this time I'm like, what do you feel about free speech versus a cancel culture?
Right.
Wild time.
Good heavens. Luckily, we don't have to think that deeply with tonight's film. Because, guys, we are doing Steve Miner's 1989 horror fantasy romp, Warlock, starring the great late Julian Sands. Guys, Lydia, you've never seen this, right?
Right.
So have you ever heard of this movie?
I've heard of this movie for sure. The cover, as soon as I saw the cover, I was like, I've definitely seen this cover a million times. It's pretty cool. I've heard, bits and pieces about this movie, but I guess I never put it together what it was actually about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, the cover is kind of iconic if you're a video store kid, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of iconic if you're a video store kid. Derek, this isn't your first time watching this guy, right?
It reminds me of the Gremlins. It reminds me of the Gremlins cover a little bit.
Yeah, you know what?
Of just the white.
Does. The white, yeah.
With the shadow.
Yeah.
Which I loved that one as a video store kid. Just seeing the Gremlins poster.
Gremlins one with it's great. Derek, this isn't your first time seeing this guy, right?
No, it's not my first time seeing it, and I just want to add a little bit to that conversation. So there was nothing like going to the video store on a Friday night, or if it was summer vacation, any day of the week. But on a Friday night to rent the new releases, or I remember a couple of times with big movies like The Mask, you had to you couldn't get it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
People would go in and get it first thing in the morning, and then you wouldn't be able to get it for like a couple of weeks. I mean, and that was before you had the disposable income to just go and build a, a DVD or a VHS library. You went to the video store, or not on demand. That's sad that's going away. But no, it's not my first time watching it. I saw this when I was a kid, way too young. And actually, I thought that you and I had watched it. I'd watched this recently, but I thought it was you and and I don't know if it was or not. I don't think it was.
Yeah, we talked about that. I think that it had to have been either you and I watched it, or I said, "Hey, I just you know what I just watched Warlock," and you're like, "Oh shit, I want to watch Warlock," and we both watched it. But either that or we watched it together. But we both did around the same time rewatch this movie, like last year. I think. Not the first. That wasn't the first time I saw this. This obviously isn't. I saw this, like Derek, a long time ago when I was a kid. I remember, I think the first time I saw it was with Joey, because Joey was my cousin Joey and Derek's friend. Joey was obsessed with this movie. He was obsessed with Warlock. He was obsessed with Julian Sands as the Warlock. Because that's the first time I remember hearing his name, was with Joey being like, "He's the Warlock." And I was like, what the fuck's the Warlock? That sounds cool. What is that? And he showed me the cover, and I was like, oh, we got to rent that. And I remember watching it and liking it. And, you know, at the time when you're a little kid, it was scary and stuff. But I hadn't seen it in, before I rewatched it, I hadn't seen it in like 20 years probably. And so going back and revisiting it, I forgot how fun it is of a movie. Like, it's less of a horror movie, more of like an adventure film, which with horror elements, of course, but it's, you know, it's tinged with horror, but it's a fun, breezy movie. And I was like, oh shit, man, this is a good one to kick back to on a Saturday night, you know, on a Saturday afternoon or something. So that is my story for Warlock. Let's get into it, because let's start by talking
real quick.
Yeah.
Pop culture. Also, it shows how sheltered I was as a child. Or not sheltered. What is the word? I was not well versed in the world.
Are you pretending to be frozen?
No, I wasn't pretending to be
You were frozen that whole time. We didn't hear a word of it.
Lydia, I've had
I heard it.
Oh,
I didn't. I was frozen. Let's try
you.
it again.
So, fun fact. I had never heard of a warlock. So I didn't know that that's what a male witch was called until this movie.
What?
That's what horror does to you, for real.
Yeah.
I just thought he was a witch. I didn't know he was a warlock.
What did you used to think they were? Did you think that
Witches?
male witches were Mitches?
Well, it's like the little boy, you know, it was like, witches
There's a
are
Mitch!
girls.
Yeah. I saw you, Mitch.
You Mitch. You're
I'm gonna
afraid
call
of any kind of
Quincy
Mitch.
a Mitch. And she's going to be like, what? And I'm going to be like, you're never going to get it. Also, she's a girl.
I don't think it'll take her hard to crack that code. She
I
might
don't
think you're
think it
calling
is
her something else, to be honest.
You know, I think I'm not going to actually say that to her. That's a good call.
Just so
Yeah.
many different options that could.
Yeah. One, you just replace it with a B, and you're in trouble.
I'm
So,
sleeping on the couch.
guys, yeah. Let's start by talking about the Warlock himself. Let's talk about Julian Sands, because as we discussed earlier this year, he was tragically had passed away while hiking in the mountains, so he's no longer with us. But what do you guys think of Julian Sands as the Warlock in this? Because he doesn't have a name; he is just the Warlock.
Does he ever?
Once the movie was over, I was like, did he have a name?
He did not.
Yeah. I thought he did great. I definitely thought he was, you know, intense.
Yeah, and charismatic as
Yeah.
well. What do you think,
I
Derek?
second that. No, I second that. I think he did a great job. This is one of my favorite roles that he's had, and he reprised this role a couple of times. So
Well, one more time. One more time.
One more? Oh, there's only one more? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was Warlock Armageddon or something like that. Either way.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he did a great job.
Yeah, I love him in this. I think he's like you said, he is intense, but he's also, silly at times when he needs to be silly, and like
Mm-hmm.
charismatic and
Charming.
cool when he needs to be charismatic and cool. Like when he
There
walks
are a
in
couple
on
moments where he's
old,
charming.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. When he walks in with old boy cooking, it makes me laugh because he just kind of walks in and smiles at him, and then just crosses his
Yeah,
arms, and you're just like,
dude, I was at this point. I was like, where is this movie going?
is
Yeah.
he the good guy? Yeah.
I don't know.
He does seem, when he comes in, he does seem like he kind of is going to be our, even though we saw that he was locked up and stuff, we're like,
Yeah.
he doesn't seem too evil. These people are
Mhm.
brought him in and he's like, talking to them and stuff. And then it takes a turn pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Man,
I was
takes a
like,
turn.
oh, definitely bad.
Also, guys, Richard E. Grant plays Redfern in this. What do you guys think of him? I think he's terrific.
Yes, dude. How many times have we talked about him on this podcast?
Quite a few, yeah.
Like a handful at least.
yeah,
Yeah.
this was the first movie that I remember seeing him in. Then the second movie I remember seeing him in was Hudson Hawk. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, he did a really
yeah.
great job. And also, I just want to comment: there is no way in the world we live in today somebody comes crashing through your window and you're like, "Let's take him in. It's fine. I'm not going to call the police or anything. We'll just, put him in a bedroom and take him into
Yeah.
the Stray."
Yeah,
Like, what are you
no
smoking?
kidding. I was thinking that too.
What you smoking, buddy?
Why
Yeah.
don't you just nap it off?
Yeah, nap it off.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. It really does make me laugh when that happens. Like the fact that he crashes through, they don't call the police immediately, and then they're like, "Well, you just need to rest in the bed and chill out," and you're
Yeah.
like, "What? No, no." I think even in the
Yeah.
80s, I would have been like, "We got to get this fucking guy out of here. What's going on?" But yeah, it's fun.
Definitely.
Which also leads us to our heroine, Cassandra with a K, played by Laurie Singer. What do you guys think of Cassandra?
Dude, she's got some of the best lines.
She
In
does
the
have fun
world.
lines. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of lines she has in this movie. I'm just like, that's pretty solid writing. Also, I went on IMDb to kind of like see where I had seen her from, and she's still a working actress, and she's been in
Mhm.
some big movies. I didn't realize that, like Footloose.
Interesting.
Yeah. Footloose was one of them, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I just
Just
said.
a small
Footloose.
little movie that she
Yeah,
was
it's
in.
little.
Nice. I didn't even recognize her from that.
She
Little
was
thing
so
she was
thin
in.
in this movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I think she's great in this. I think she's a lot of fun. And I think her character's a lot of fun. She gets to
Mhm.
do a lot, you know what I mean? And
She
like
has to
Derek
grow
said,
up really
say some
quick.
really funny. Yeah, has to say some really funny lines and stuff. I really do enjoy her performance. It's a lot
That
of fun.
seemed funnier
And-
in my mind.
And there's a lot to this thing because the plot it's pretty simple, but also one of those like epic plots. So, we open with Redfern has the Warlock trapped, and he has his like thumbs. Basically, he has his thumbs handcuffed to his toes, and that's like a thing. And I love that they just throw lore of this movie out at us like we should just know it. I love what
Yeah.
movies do. They don't go out of their way to over-explain it. They're just like, well, don't you know if his thumbs are handcuffed, he can't cast magic. Oh,
Dude,
okay.
as they
sure.
were throwing this shit out, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to look this up because I don't know. That's where my
I
mind went. I
didn't
was like, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit because the movie was telling me that's what happens. And I was like, okay, those are the rules of the movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I was questioning it. I was just like, huh, I didn't know that. I kind of want to like see if they were full of shit or not. But you're right, it doesn't matter. And I'm glad that they didn't take the time to like dumb it down. They just
Yeah, they
That's
didn't
how it
say,
is.
well, we can't you see, if we handcuff his toes and his feet, this happens or this happens. It's just, that's what it is. And when he gets transported to the future, Redfern gets taken as well. He jumps into the tornado as well, and they both get ported off into the 80s, and which is beautiful. Of course they do. And the scene we kind of touched on earlier I love the scene where her roommate gets killed, because it is so weird. He's just kind of there watching him, talking to him, and then he sees his ring, and he's like, I fucking want that ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And chops off his finger and then bites off his tongue, and we get a great match cut to him spitting it in the pan to them bringing out the food in the diner. Great match.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was great.
Love it. Such a great joke. It lands. Like, yeah, okay. I know. That tells you right then what tone
You
this
could
movie is
say
you're going.
Mm-hmm.
it sizzles.
Oh my god. You're done today. It just doesn't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Must be dreaming.
So, when she goes back, so the plot basically is he has to collect all the pages to the Devil's Bible. Essentially.
I love the name of this, by the way. The
Yeah,
Grim
go ahead.
Grimoire.
Yes.
Or if you want to say it
Grim
fancy,
Grimoire.
get your tongue rolling. The Grim Grimoire. Did that?
Yes.
That didn't sound good. Anyway,
It sounded good to
the
me.
book of the Bible of the Devil.
Yes, the Bible
sounds way
Black,
better.
as it were. He has to get the Bible, the Devil's Bible, and so there's a scene where he goes in and meets with the soothsayer, and who's clearly just a fucking charlatan that pretends to contact people from the other side. He goes in with the crystal, which, by the way, I don't know what it's there for. I don't know any of that, like why it's there, but he goes there, and there's a great bit where she's like, I am, because he says my father has many names, and he gives a name for Satan.
Mm-hmm.
And
Pick up
she's
on it, by the way.
no, she does not. So he's like trying to or she's like trying to bring it up. Oh, I'm here for you, and she's like, what do you want? I want to wait until what? Until he actually shows up. Then she becomes actually possessed. It looks. I like her makeup. It's a good makeup design.
Freaky.
Because the way her eyes are so big and like the lack of eyebrows, it's a good design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And-
well, and her face is like long enough to kind of support that kind of like teeth too. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes people put those teeth in and it just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
But she just nails it. Like she actually looked like possessed and creepy. I loved it. She did great.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he, the devil tells him he has to, if he collects all of these pages, then he will be basically the chosen one. He'll be him. He'll be, the right hand man, the
Antichrist.
ruler, the Antichrist, so to speak.
Yeah, I think he said he would be the son of the devil, or he alluded to the Antichrist. Is what I got.
Yeah. So the backstory with these pages are that if you read if you get all of the pages together, it reveals the true name of God. And if you say the true name, it's the true name that God used for creation. And if you say the name in reverse, it is anti-creation. It wipes out all life. So that is kind of the plot. That's our MacGuffin. And she says she'll guide him with her eyes. So he cuts out the psychic's eyes and is using them to guide, which is fucking great, right?
Literal interpretation.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's great.
Love that.
That was pretty cool.
So
Pretty gross. This movie, by the way, is like obsessed with eyeballs.
it loves eyes. It does love eyes.
Yeah.
They saw it coming.
That was the weakest one yet.
Yeah, you know what?
Diminishing returns.
They all can't be great.
Diminishing returns. keep an eye out for you, Stingray. So, they
What's
end
that
up.
from? That's gonna drive me nuts.
That's
What's that from?
Undefeatable. That's the terrible movie Undefeatable.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, it's awful.
Okay.
It's a great one though. It's a classic bad movie. So when she gets confronted by Redfern first, and he's like just immediately like kind of assaults her at first because he's trying to just get what's going on. There's miscommunication. Then he just starts building this fucking wild compass. He's like, he bled. Where did he bleed? And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Over here somewhere.
Yeah.
They build this witch compass, which is awesome, right?
The witch compass is pretty cool. By the way, that vacuum looked exactly like Joey's dad's vacuum. It sucked.
Yeah, literally. Because the
Exactly. Yep.
What is going on tonight?
You beat me to it.
I know. I had to. I couldn't let you take all of them.
I'm gonna call you the Hoover from now on.
Oh my god!
You
Please
suck.
don't.
Anyway,
Please
go ahead.
don't. So she ends up trying to run away. So he gets arrested. She calls the police. Redfern gets arrested. He gets tased, and it's so fucking funny. He walks
That's
out
a
there,
great
and
scene.
he's just shouting, and they just fucking tase his ass.
He's like out there
Snaps a
whipping
whip.
people with his whip.
Slaps a whip
Yeah.
at him. And they
He's like,
just
all
tase
right,
his-
all you
He goes-
humans back up. I have a whip, and they're just like, zzz.
He goes, and just
I
falls
see your
over.
whip, and I raise you 30,000 volts.
Yeah,
It's so good. It's such a funny scene.
that
And
was
then
funny.
The Warlock returns because he finds out that the old table that they have, the heirloom that they have, this antique, actually houses some of the pages. So he breaks back into the thing to get the pages and then ends up cursing Cassandra. And she's going to age 2 decades every day. So she's 20 years old when we meet her. The next day she wakes up and she's 40. And she looks
Mhm.
older. Her hair's long. Nails are gross. You know what it's like to be 40, Derek. And so she...
I want to say I look better than she did at 40. You're right behind me, a-hole.
Classic! Whoopah! Bring out my whip. But yeah, so she ages. So she's like, fuck, I better get that weird guy out of jail and see what the fuck's going on. So they start their cross-country trek to get the pages. And we get a bunch of fun misadventures here. Let's talk about the boy playing football. Lydia,
I was
this
so
is your
scared
first
for
time
him.
watching this. Tell me your experience watching this scene.
I was so scared for him. I was like, oh no, this is not good. This is not good.
Yeah.
You see it coming,
But
but they
it-
kind of try to trick you a little
Yeah.
bit.
It tricked me too. Yeah, for sure. It got me. I was like, oh, okay. No, he's cool. He's cool.
Yeah, he's cool with this kid. He's cool with this kid. And
Yeah.
then he asks him if he's ever been baptized, or basically ask him why he's not in church, and he says, "My dad doesn't believe in that sort of stuff, and I don't go to church and everything." And that's when he says, "Do you go to church? A warlock going to church?" He's like, or a witch going to church. And he's like, "You're a witch? Witches are women." And he's like, "They could be men too." Like he gets defensive. No, nuh-uh. They could be men too. Well, where's your broomstick? Well, I don't need one to fly. You'll never guess what I need, though. And
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
comes to find out, it is the skin, the fat of an unbaptized child is how you create flying potion. Another just little piece of lore that is fucking great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone catch
disgusting,
who that little boy was, by the way?
Yes, it's the
Who
boy
was
from
it?
Step by Step.
Yep. If you watch TJIF, back in the day. It was JT.
JT. Yep, from Step by Step. Brandon Call is the actor's name.
Yep.
Which is hilarious. When I was watching it, I was like, wait a minute. Is that fucking Step by Step kid? I didn't remember his name.
He's a cute kid.
Yeah.
He was a cute kid. I liked their interaction.
It was a good scene. Yeah, the scene
It was
is
good
actually
up
really
until
good.
the point where he boiled him to fly.
Well,
Yeah. The
You know,
special
that'll
effects are
happen.
not amazing on this movie, obviously.
Oh man. Oh man.
It's 1989.
gonna-
The movie was made on a budget
Yeah.
of like $15 million. So it's not like, you know,
Not even gonna
Star
fault him for
Wars.
that one because yeah, it's pretty bad.
you start out
But-
with the tornadoes, so that kind of puts you, you know what you're
you know
watching.
what you're getting. But the tornado is fun. All the special effects are fun, even if they're chintzy, right? All these VFX are fun, even
Yeah.
if they are chintzy. Like the flying is goofy, or it looks bad, but they play it for laughs and goofs, so it works. Because the first time we see him flying, he's getting read by a by a speedometer deal. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he gets clocked by a radar gun.
Which
and he's doing
was
the-
so goofy.
Of course, yeah, super goofy. And he's like, the way he flies, and he's like standing up. It's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, dude. Me and Jake were laughing so hard. He was like, he flies like this, like with his elbow up.
Yeah. Great stuff, though. It's fun. I like that.
So you have to have a bug shield just in case.
Yeah,
I guess so, yeah. Good
ah,
point.
there's another one. And that's what he's doing. You're right, Derek. That makes perfect sense. Now it all makes sense. He's dodging the bugs.
When you're going over 100.
So he finds the second one in this attic of this house. And
Mhm.
the father, the grandfather of the family, is a Mennonite. His son is more modern, has like the modern stuff, but his father was a Mennonite. So he sees the signs of
Mhm.
the warlock or of a witch, because the cream turns sour, and the horses are sweating during the day. And what was the third one? Something about the crops.
Sour
Oh, the
milk.
bread, right. The bread
The
didn't
bread,
rise.
yeah, the bread doesn't rise. Yeah.
So all
Later,
of
it's
these
a
things
blue
are happening.
flame. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's a yep. So he notes all these things, and he's like, "There's a witch among us," and of course his daughter or son and daughter-in-law don't believe him, but he creates a hex on the barn to ward off the evil. And once they're driving, and Redfern sees it, and he's like, "Aha! I've got to go." And we're missing a bunch of like little funny scenes where he's like salting the whip because he has to.
Oh
he's
my
like,
gosh, that.
"Do you have this? May I use this whole thing of salt?" She's like, "Yeah, knock yourself out," because salt was very valuable then, and now it's salt.
Mm-hmm.
Worth its weight in gold back in the day, like for real.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth its weight
Yeah.
in gold.
Yeah. So now it's just
Yeah.
salt. You can buy it at the store for like whatever, $5 for a big thing. But he's like,
I need to go get some salt,
yeah, I just bought some.
by the way.
recently. Just bought some recently. But he
Add
he's
that to the
salting
list.
it.
Mental
like
note,
eating it.
guys.
And she's like, "Are you if you're hungry, we can stop." He's like, "I'm salting
Yeah.
the whip. Warlocks despise salt, or they loathe salt." And she's like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, sure." And by this point, she is like 60. She's like real old. And she's like, like barely getting around. She's got really long hair. During this
Long
drive,
nails again.
during this drive, he tells her about his love, Marion, like briefly,
Mhm.
and so we know that he lost somebody to the warlock, so it's personal for him. And this farmhouse scene, guys, is a lot of fun, right? I really like this whole section of the movie. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm. It's good times. This is one of the more memorable portions of the movie.
Yeah, because we get a lot of
and
set
finds-
pieces and some, yeah,
Yeah, so we get the wind thing that he uses like for the rest of the movie. One is a
Mhm.
giant witch compass, but also is a
Yeah.
freaking weapon. He throws it, he
Yeah.
chucks it. He's a good chucker.
yeah.
He's a mother chucker.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
So I love when he goes
Sorry.
up into the attic and confronts him.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a really good scene because he basically kills him right then and there, but he has the pages already there, and he doesn't know that they're there. You know, he has the pages there in front,
Mm-hmm.
and because he goes up to confront him, he has the pages there, and he stabs him and like slices him down, but it hits the pages, and they fix themselves. They heal.
Yeah.
Because he almost like ends him right there, like just guts him.
Yeah.
So then we get a little fight scene with him, and we also learn some more lore. Like if she puts the pennies in her mouth to ward off any stray spells. Also, don't look him in the eye and don't show him fear. So we get a fun scene where he flies out and he whips him around the leg, and he's dragging him along the thing. The flying scene does not look good, except for when it's the wires. That actually looks good when it's the wires and it's the practical him pulling him. It's a really fun idea. Him being pulled.
It's super fun.
Yeah, him being pulled by the flying warlock. And then, Derek, we get your favorite scene, or Lydia, what you laughed about, and what Derek said is he's a good chucker. He uses that wind, or that lightning rod, I think is what it is, right?
It's like a weather vane.
Yeah, weather vane. And throws it and nails him right in the shoulder. He's like, ah! Like, fucking crashes.
Dude, that was the funniest thing. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. He just was like the way he flies out of that barn window and then just like kind of turns like clumsily.
Yeah.
He just gets hit right in the shoulder, just speared. This is so funny.
Yeah, so he gets taken down, and then they have him. They're like, they have one thumb and one toe, locked up, and then he looks at the old man in the eye, and his eyes start bleeding.
Yeah.
And so Redfern's like, go after him. I can't, I've got to save him. I need some keys. It's like, what? I need some keys. Because if I leave him, he'll die. So he stays with him, but he hands her nails and a hammer and says, find his footprints and drive a nail through them. Which is one of my favorite things. I love so much that she finds his footprint and he's hiding in the train, and she hits it with a nail and it hurts him and he screams. What do you guys think of this bit?
Yes. I thought that was really cool too. Like that's awesome.
It's a really cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
That you can harm him that way. And I think by the way, when she finds like the indentation of his face and it's just like a dugout face, I'm like, that's a little too on the nose. But either way, she's like, well, it works on his feet. Maybe it'll work on his head. Yeah. Because he had peeled up a board and stuck his feet on the board and like,
which is a great idea too. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a cool idea. I loved that. I was like,
his face. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, and he's like, ah! And it passes him out momentarily, which gives her enough time to get the bracelet back and break the curse. So she's no longer cursed. But he looks so creepy when he just stares at her when the train's going away, and he's just like glaring at her. Like,
yeah.
Damn
Do you ever? I have a question. Do you guys ever just get like a random ass pain? And you're like, I feel like I'm gonna think of this now because I'm like, so like if you just get like a random sharp pain and you're just like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Is someone like driving a nail into your foot?
Somebody's hit me with the nails. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Lydia.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I just assumed it was like voodoo dolls, but
it kind of does feel like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I love that concept, and I love that I think the whole barn scene is like top notch. It's good stuff. A lot of fun.
Yeah. I liked that scene a lot for sure.
I think it's a great way to also like write him, so he's on the run, so he's trying to get the last page, and now that she's healed and she finds out the stakes, because she's gonna drop out, she's gonna leave, and then he tells her the stakes, like everything's gonna end if she doesn't, and she decides to stick around. But she's like, we're playing offense now. You know, we've got 1980s technology versus this creep's idea of flying around like an idiot, clumsily flying around and getting hit with weather vanes. It's like, we got a better idea. So she goes to the airport, which is a great idea, because they need to fly to Boston. And when he sees the airplanes, it's so funny. Like, his whole reaction is, like, men get on this, and she goes, "What kind of men get on this? Us men. Let's go." We men.
Yeah,
let's go.
I loved his reaction to that too.
Yeah, he's just like,
any movie where someone gets like transported in time and they just don't know like modern things is so fun.
It is, like when he says, "Get your coach."
Yeah. I love it. And I love the way he talks too. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. I love when she's driving and he's like, this, so your roadways, do they go one way or both ways? Both ways? Okay, do you choose which lane you are in? No, you have to stay in one lane. Which lane is that? The right one. And he turns the wheel because there's a semi coming right at him. And he's like,
that's awesome.
You might want to watch the roadway or whatever. And she's like, I'm getting driving lessons from a guy from the 17th century, That's fun stuff.
Like the way he said everything, like in that old way too, is so funny.
Yeah, so when they're on this plane, or when they're at the airport, she sees him. She sees the Warlock, but doesn't tell him about it. Doesn't tell Redfern. She's just like, doesn't mention it. She's like, let's just get on the plane because we're going to beat him there anyway. It doesn't matter. So while he takes the fucking weather vane carry-on, I guess, or puts it underneath or something. But he sees somebody making coffee and the cream is turned. So he knows that there's a witch aboard. So we get a fun scene in the airplane where they split up and they're each looking for the Warlock, and they keep getting a bunch of fake outs. My favorite being the guy that walks down in the like black turtleneck.
Yeah, with his bare feet.
Yeah, and they're like, she's like, and then it's just some guy. She's like, oh, okay, nobody here, but he had stored himself in the belly of the plane, so he was underneath him the whole time. And he arrives at the same time they do, and they go to the church, which he can't go to because it's sacred ground. He can't step into the church. So they go in and talk to this priest. What do you guys think of this whole bit?
The plane or with the priest?
All of it. All of that bit. The plane, the priest. This whole section before we get to the third act.
So we know how Renfield got the idea to
Redfern.
Redfern got the idea to get to.
Wait, Derek, was this movie in black and white or in color?
Lydia. I don't have to put up with this. I'm going home.
You're already home.
That's a joke. Anyway, I don't have to take this. What I was saying was, we know how he got the idea to get to Boston, right? The airplane. But, where did the Warlock get that idea? Although it is a great idea for him to not pay to get on the plane, and he stowed away with the luggage. Also, he was making some sort of like weird food.
Yeah, he made weird food that was never it was never touched again. It just was literally just one of those scenes that is just the lore. That's what he does. Made the
baby food, I guess,
food and ate it. Yeah,
he made Warlock soup.
Yeah, it's kind of
like
gross
tomato
looking.
soup.
It was gross looking.
Gross looking. But, I don't know. I mean, I guess he was just pointed in that direction. Or he followed them. And that's why he ended up there. But
could be.
They end up there with the priest, and he just
I was gonna say the church scene is quite interesting. So he knew that the last time that this book was together was at this church, and so
Yeah.
it just makes sense to go there because churches keep records, and so that's kind of what they're banking on. And then they get this whole backstory about how which they had to go through the archives, and the priest is like, "Are you collectors? We're not going to sell this." And they're like, "No, no, no." And then he asked the wrong question, and he got like berated.
Yeah, it talks about the foul brute
like,
that he had to take down and bring upon the end
Yeah.
of days, and she's like, "You asked."
Yeah.
And this is when they
What do you want
find
from me?
out that it was split into three. The warlock told him that he had 2/3,
Mhm.
and that the other one just happened to be buried with a certain somebody that they both know.
Yeah, well, we don't know that yet.
Right.
We know that it's buried in this cemetery.
Well, they know that it was buried
with
with somebody. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, buried with
They don't know
somebody
who,
that
but they know
has
that it was buried with somebody.
that had the hex on it.
Yeah.
So they go and they think they're home free because the cemeteries back then, especially from the church cemeteries, is consecrated. So the warlock cannot step foot on consecrated soil. So they're safe. Except these motherfuckers are pulling a poltergeist and they're moving the
That's
cemetery.
exactly what I thought. Yeah. I was like, man, 2 weeks in a row, huh?
Yeah. So they're moving the cemetery.
2 out of 3 weeks, whatever it is.
Yep. And they're moving the cemetery, and they find out that the body... Lydia, what did you think about this? When they found out that it was buried with Redfern.
Yeah. I was like, just look at it. I was like, if it was me, I would look at myself, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I was feeling.
It's a really
I was
funny
like, you better get in
scene,
there.
too. It's a funny scene because the way how he's
Yeah,
reacting
it was
to
funny.
She's like, well, maybe it's somebody
She's
else.
like, she's like, don't look. I'll open it. She was like, there's probably not even anybody in here.
Are you daft, woman? What do you mean there's nobody in there? It's my casket.
Well, you're here.
You know, maybe... Yeah, maybe you don't
You
go
know,
back.
she's
you know,
thinking,
she's-
oh, maybe you don't go back. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she's
Yeah.
like, on second thought, don't look. I love when she is breaking his fingers off to get the pages.
Yeah,
And she's like, just
that was
just one
fun.
more. And he's just like, go. It's like just walked over his own grave, you know? That's fun.
Yep.
Well, that's when they find out about the consecrated bit and the old... Because they're like, we'll just not open it. We'll just leave it here. And it's safe. And then that's when they realize that the grave's been moved. And they're like, we got to open it now and get to it before him. And he attacks and we get our final battle. What do you guys think of this whole final battle scene, the third act? Because, you know, Redfern throws down with him and says, hey, you know, let's just do this mano a mano. No magic. Let's see what you got.
Yes. Like a badass.
Yeah. What do you guys think of this whole bit?
I liked it. I thought it was cool. It was very brave.
Yeah, if you know, he would have stuck to it, he had him beat. He was on his way to a victory, and then, you know, never trust a warlock is what I got out of this.
Yeah, well, you knew that motherfucker was going to
Never
cheat.
trust a
He's evil.
warlock. Oh, yeah.
You know, he bit out old boy's tongue for no reason. Don't trust that guy. But yeah,
Yeah,
he
no
does.
kidding.
They have a drag out fight, and then he uses the magic to puts it in his mouth, and he like starts puking up magic dust or whatever the fuck it is. She tries to attack him with the whip, and he throws her in the ocean, and she gets a brilliant idea, because this whole time she's diabetic, right, and she has to use insulin.
Yeah.
So she has these insulin shots with her. So she fills the syringes with the salt water and stabs him in the neck. What do you guys think of his demise?
It's awesome.
Pretty solid ass meltdown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The special effects looked pretty good here too. I'll say. I really, like, cause his whole, like, he starts sparking and catching fire. And like even the vein, like when the veins.
Yeah.
Yeah. all of it together looked really good, and they like cut to his face, just like flesh gone, just melting. It was, yeah, that was cool.
What do you think, Derek?
No, I agree. I liked the veins popping out in his face, and kudos to her for landing in the salt water and being like, I wonder if this will work.
I like that idea a lot. I think that's a really clever way to defeat
Yeah.
the Warlock.
Yeah,
Because you always have to have a clever
That
way to
or,
beat
you know.
these guys, and that's a really cool one, I think.
you could have coaxed him into eating like a modern cheeseburger.
Well, that might just mildly irritate him. You know,
I don't know.
It seemed like
McDonald's got a lot of salt in their fries. Here, have a Big Mac.
they do,
Either way,
but you know,
I'm just kidding, but
it wasn't blood
no.
into the
No, that's a
bloodstream.
good point. That's a good point, though. It's like the little things like that, you know.
See, now
Yeah.
him making his own food makes perfect
Makes
sense.
sense.
It's like these people
Yeah.
are
Makes
trying
sense.
to kill me.
Bland,
Yeah.
It might taste good. We
creamy,
don't know.
something. Whatever he had was.
We've never eaten Warlock soup. We don't know how it tastes.
I bet it was leftovers from the kid that he made the flying potion out of.
It might
It
have been.
been
Might have just been warming it up.
more flying potion.
Get more fat, baby fat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, I just got nauseous. All
Give
right,
me
let's
some of
change
that
the
baby
subject.
They're like human veal.
But you better give me some
Oh,
of
God.
the fat.
That is so gross.
Wonder what the cutoff age to that flying potion is once you're after, like, is it when you're in your teens?
Probably 13, maybe. Yeah.
See, that's the kind of stuff that we need to know.
Yep. But that's
Yep,
yeah,
fill
it's a
that
lot
in.
of fun.
As scientists battling witches, we need to know the details of
We
these
must know the
things.
details. The
Yeah, you never know.
so the end.
Like the keys. Why did he need
Yeah.
the keys to
Oh,
spin
the keys.
clockwise?
He also remember it has to spin clockwise. Yeah,
Every
it has to spin
hour.
Clockwise
Yeah.
every hour. Reach
clockwise,
up and spin it.
clockwise, like from his point of view?
I guess.
You
He's
know,
like,
like,
you know, clockwise.
how is he gonna
and
know?
By morning, the blood will have stopped, so you'll be good to go. The curse will have ended.
I wonder if they're
you
just
keep
like,
these
here,
keys.
improvise. Improvise this.
It's a fun idea.
We don't
None
have
of it
any
has to make sense.
words for this.
It all makes sense
Yeah.
That's a
in
good
the logic
point,
of the
too.
film, and that's all that matters.
It really
I
is.
love it.
So
I love
he
it.
goes back. He goes back to in time. We get like a cute little scene with them, and he's like, you know, if maybe we were at a different time, you know, and met at different times in our lives, literally. And she goes to kiss him, and he's gone. And then his tornado goes over the grave, and it etches, you know, "I'll never forget you" kind of thing. What do you guys think of that bit?
That was sweet.
It was sweet.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it too. Yeah. So we get also we know his first name is Giles. We find that out as well.
Yeah.
Giles Redfern.
Giles Hiles.
Giles Hiles. Remember, don't forget it. So I was going to name Connor, but I was vetoed.
I can see why.
I wasn't Connor. When you watch this in the future, I wasn't going to name you Giles. But it would have been fun.
Yeah, he was a big Buffy fan.
Yeah, big Buffy fan. Giles
Big
Hiles.
Buffy.
It's
I would have said, "Son, you're named after the hero of Warlock." So,
to me and Jake's favorite name.
Giles.
Giles Hiles.
So, she ends up taking the book because it still exists, and she goes and buries it in the salt flats. So it'll never be disrupted again. What do you guys think of this? I think it's pretty clever.
Dude, the only
Yes.
thing that she did wrong was she buried it next to a sign.
Yeah.
Well,
It's the only
I don't
thing
know
she
if
did.
she
This was a
buried it
great
necessarily.
idea.
I don't know if she buried it actually next to the sign, but we have to see the sign to know where the hell she is. You know, visually.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's
I said
there.
the same thing. Jake said the same thing. Like, why'd you bury it next to that sign? And I was like, it's just for the movie, baby. We need to know where they're at.
Yeah, I know why they
Yeah.
did it. I just was like, man, one day they're gonna need to move that sign. Somebody's
No,
They're
gonna,
gonna dig it up.
yeah, they're gonna dig it up and be like, look, somebody left the old book here. Throw in the trash.
No, that's I love that she buries it in the salt flats because then it's like
Oh,
safe
that makes
from
total
just
sense.
the warlocks. Yeah, in
Yeah,
general,
no, it
it's
makes
like, well,
total sense. I completely agree with that part.
Mm-hmm.
and it's a fun ending, and that's Warlock. What do you guys think of this one? Lydia, let's start with you since this is your first viewing.
Oh gosh.
So what were your expectations going in versus your experience watching it?
Well, I was telling one of my friends, Nick, shout out to Nick, he's probably not listening, that we were watching this, and he was like, "Oh, well, do you like Phantasm?" And I was like, "Yeah, I liked Phantasm. We did that one." And he was like, "Well, then you'll love this one." So I was kind of thinking it was going to be like Phantasm. But I guess Phantasm was kind of more towards the 70s in my head than this one was. Like this one's like very 80s.
This is
Yeah, this is
Phantasm
towards
2.
the end of the 80s.
This is more Phantasm 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Phantasm 2, Evil Dead 2 style. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So that's where my expectations kind of were, was like Phantasm 1. So
Yeah.
this didn't quite hit the creepiness of that
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Like the weirdness, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I have no idea what to rate it. I can tell you that.
Well, we'll let Derek go first with the rating, and that'll give you an idea. Derek, what do you think of this one?
So this movie's super nostalgic for me. I remember watching this as a kid, and it brought me back. Other than the flying portions, like the special effects of this movie and the tornadoes, the special effects of this movie are not bad. I mean, those are the only two things I can really like pop out to you to like date this movie.
Yeah,
It's definitely worse.
The practical effects are really good, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the storyline. I feel like it knew where it wanted to go, and if you're into the occult at all, like you eat this stuff up. The book of, or the Bible of the devil and all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun. This movie's just a lot of fun. So I'm gonna give this movie a 7.5. I liked it a lot, and I thought the actors did a great job. And I'm gonna watch this movie at least 17 more times before I die.
I have a cap on it. It's gonna at least has to hit the 17.
I'm gonna wait till I'm in my 80s to start that countdown, but
you just watch it every day when you're in your 80s. Come on, make it.
Just like start the timer then, that way you just can't die.
Yeah, until it's over. Yeah.
Just don't watch it. All right, so I guess I think that's gonna put me at around a 6, because I don't have the nostalgia behind it for me on this one. I do think it was really good, but like I'm not gonna watch it 17 more times before I die, probably. So I think I'm just like, one step under that level of commitment.
Yeah, I really like this movie. This is the second time I've watched it in like the year. And like I said, I didn't see it for 20 years before that. Like I saw it when I was a kid, then didn't see it for a long time, and now I've watched it quite a few times, and I might try to pick this one up on physical media if it's available, because I think it's a lot of fun. I don't know if I'm going to watch it 17 more times either, but I might at least hit 10 more times. I think it'll be in a rotation. I think I'll be in the mood to say, you know what, I kind of want to visit that world again and these performances, because Julian Sands' performance is really good, and Richard E. Grant's performance is great, and so is Laurie Singer's. And I think that they all are. Steve Miner directed this movie, by the way. Steve Miner is the director of Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3. He is the director of one of Derek's favorites, which we'll do eventually, House. He's just a all-around... He likes to have fun with his movies. And he also directed Halloween H2O. So it definitely has that House energy going on, the kind of tongue-in-cheek fun. So, I'm going to give it a 7. Derek gave it a 7.5. You gave it a 6. I'm going to give it a 7, because I think it's a really solid effort. It's not very as an adult. It's not scary at all. But I remember as a little kid, some of those practical things were creepy. The demon face woman, creepy. You know, the little kid dying, creepy and scary when I was a little kid. But now it's just a heck of a lot of fun. It's like I said, it feels more like an adventure film, like an action adventure film with. It's very much Army of Darkness style, just not to the extreme of Army of Darkness, because nobody goes fucking full Army of Darkness except Army of Darkness. Nobody. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 7. It's a good time, right?
I'm curious if you guys, yeah, it's definitely a good time, and that's why I have a question about like, do you think that this is one of those movies that should be redone today? That like,
yes,
100%.
You know how they're always like,
yes,
okay,
I think this movie is prime for a remake, 100%. I think that if Derek and I were given the rights to this thing, we would kill a Warlock movie. What do you think, Derek?
For sure.
I mean, this is
Hell
right
yeah.
in our wheelhouse. Can't you see us making this, Lydia?
good,
Right
yeah.
in our wheelhouse. We'd be having
Find out
all
who
sorts
cool?
of fun.
And offer him $20 for the rights.
You heard it here first, folks. $40 for the Warlock. I'll throw in 20 as well.
I'll throw in
Good
20.
to go. Yep, let's
There
do
we
it.
go. We're up
$60
60.
for Warlock. Yeah. So guys, who would Tom Atkins play in this thing?
Thrill me.
Because the cast is so good.
Dude, he could play one of the pilgrims at the beginning.
He could, or he could also play
Or
the Mennonite.
The Mennonite
Yeah.
would be a good one.
who
yeah.
goes like blind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be good.
Yeah, I do too. Because I don't want to replace Richard E. Grant. I think he's really good in this. Though
Mhm.
Tom Atkins as Redfern would be fucking bitching. But he's just really good in this. And I also think that, I would definitely not replace Julian Sands. That would be the hardest thing about remaking this movie is finding somebody that could pull a Julian Sands. You know what I mean? That could be as charismatic as that guy was in that role. Whose turn to pick is it? I believe it's yours, Lydia.
Yes,
Yeah.
have just been stalling this whole time.
You don't know what we're
Because I'm
watching
trying
yet?
to pick.
Oh,
I
my
thought
gosh.
for sure that it was Derek's turn, and then I realized it was mine like 10 minutes
Just
ago, and
now?
I've just been like, so who do you guys think?
You've just been scrambling. You're like, so tell me, what is your favorite part of the Warlock? Who would you cast as the Warlock's neighbor?
Damn it, dude! I
I
don't
think
know what
Nev
to
Campbell
pick.
would make a nice neighbor for the Warlock. Would you
Oh,
put shoes on the
shoot.
Warlock so we could get a Nike deal?
Hey, he did eventually get boots.
He did, yes.
Probably after he got nailed in the foot, he's like, fuck this, I gotta get
Yeah,
some.
fuck this. I need some boots.
I must get some boots.
He probably got shoes because they wouldn't let him in the airport without them. Probably why.
Maybe.
Yeah, but they let him go on the plane with a weather vane in his hand.
Pre-9/11 was a wild time to fly.
That's true.
Wild
That's
time to
true.
fly.
I mean, the one guy was smoking on the plane, so like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna
Yeah,
do
that used
there?
to be- You used to be able to smoke fucking everywhere. Remember when restaurants had smoking and non-smoking sections? Which
Yep.
I've got to
Yep.
talk about for a second. While you pick your thing, I'll go on my little tangent with this. They had smoking and non-smoking sections. Like what? Is there a fucking barrier that stops the smoke from entering the non-smoking section? It's like, whoa. Cigarette smoke, you can't pass this fucking line. Like, what are you talking about?
I like to think that the ventilation on that side was so much better that they were filtering the air particles.
100%
mind,
wasn't. If you were in a
I
smoking,
know it
non-smoking, you were
wasn't.
100%.
Getting
Guess what,
secondhand
Derek?
smoke.
You were eating cigarette smoke.
Oh, get out of here, man! I will hang up on you. Dude, I'm not kidding. I used to hold my breath. Like when I was like around, I would like hold my breath and then like this, or I'd be like, take a big breath. Not, not an exaggeration. That really happened.
Then you get your food with all the cigarette particles on it, and you just eat it.
That's not how that works, man. Although I had a babysitter one time. She was a smoker, and she was like, well, this cigarette is cleaner than your hair. And I'm just like, if you were to get those, like the ashes off of the cigarette, I was like, if you were to get those ashes on your hand or in your hair, would you not take a shower? So how could it be cleaner than your hair? Like, that doesn't make any sense. She was trying to just be like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with smoking. It's good for your health.
Your mother left you alone with this person?
Yep. Sure did.
You gotta love it.
She was
Yep.
not. She was okay.
Except for smoking ways.
Well, no one's perfect. Dude,
When I was young,
everybody in
my
my
grandma-
family smoked. My mom and I
Yeah.
were the only ones.
My grandma Lucy used to smoke like a chimney back in the day. I remember I'd sit at the table with her while she's playing her solitaire, and she'd just be lighting up. Different time. Secondhand smoke wasn't even a thought.
I think I've narrowed it down. Okay, so I
Okay.
think let's do The Omen.
Oh, okay. Oh shit! Just going straight for it. Straight for the jugs. Straight for that jug. Not.
I
jugs,
was gonna
but
pick,
jug.
for the record, Derek, I was gonna pick House.
Oh.
Right? Is it House or The House?
House?
House.
Okay, but I'm leaving that one to you, Derek. It's your movie. You can pick it.
That's
All
fair.
right?
That's fair.
Don't get it confused with House Party. Completely different films. Completely different movies. They made
Oh
like
my
12
God.
House Party movies in the 90s, by the way.
Yeah.
Kid and Play were fucking very busy.
Yeah. The Omen, 1976.
Yep. It is Richard Donner's The Omen. By
It
the
is
way.
Richard Donner, yeah.
It is available on Hulu. You can rent it from Google Play, Vudu, Apple TV, YouTube, and Amazon Prime Video. But it is streaming on the Hulu. So, guys, next week we will be doing that motion picture, The Omen, Richard Donner's The Omen. There's that. Well, if there's nothing else, that wraps up this edition of Scream Bloody Movies. We are hard at work on pre-production for the movie. That is definitely on the way. We got some big things on the horizon. We've done some casting, so that stuff will be released shortly. You can follow us online at HiLaProductions.com. Follow us on the Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow Derek at DDogleyMaster, Lydia at Lydia is Spooky, and me at Racket. Be sure to like, share, comment, and tell us your favorite cigarette stories, since that's what this fucking turned into for some reason. But also tell us what you think about Warlock. What's your favorite part? Do you want us to do the sequel to Warlock? And who would you cast as the new Warlock? We'd like to hear your thoughts. So until next time, for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream, scream bloody movies.